There's a perfect example. What are the things that you have learned since Vietnam that have you either where you've been like, oh, now I get that, why that happened, or why they were doing this, or what are some of those things that stand out to you that you've learned since Vietnam?
On a very personal level, we learned many years later that we had the highest casualty rate of the Vietnam War, which some say exceeds 100%, meaning our guys were either wounded, killed in action, or missing in action. Like today, as we sit here in 2023, there are still 50 Green Berets that are listed as missing in action from the Secret War in Vietnam across the fence in Laos, Cambodia, and North Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so that you learned many years later. We knew we were taking casualties. And how did we do that? Like Bob Howard, who received the Medal of Honor for a mission in 6 days, put in for 3 medals, got it once, and he had received 8 Purple Hearts. He was put in for 11 or 12. One author said it was 14. So, but at least you figure put in for at least 11.
Hey,
he earned. He received 8.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and several of our guys, particularly the guys that came back for second, like Eldon Bargewell and other men, that all had 1 or more Purple Heart.
Jeez.
Of course, in our day, it was kind of like, no, it's kind of an embarrassment. You're just too slow to get out of the way.
I've heard a few Vietnam veteran and special operators say that. It was they call it the Enemy Marksmanship Award. And I've heard a guy from Project Delta used to say that about their crew. But what on those guys that were taken captive or still missing in action all these years later, we were talking a while back about some of the things that led to the betrayal of missions or units or people. What were some of those things that led to those captures?
Well, again, over time, we've learned that there was compromises at several levels. A, we knew there was some in camp. B, the NVA had people set up so that when at the FOBs, whenever in 68, when I got there were 6 FOBs, and they would all launch west into either Cambodia or Laos. Occasionally we'd go north for a down pilot, but the majority would go west. And so there were people observing, and then they had people on the border that when the helicopters came across, they would give the vector, and they would radio that ahead. And they were very well trained in RDF with the help of the Russians, of course. We also learned with in the 1967, and I think it was 67 or early 68, when the North Koreans seized the Navy ship, and they did that at the behest of the Russians. When it comes into port, the KGB and their people were there. They took all of the top secret equipment off of that ship, put some of it in Cambodia, where they monitored our top secret traffic unbeknownst to our people for years. That's Navy, Air Force, maybe Air Force, and Army for sure. Wow. And then to compound that, you had the spy ring that was going on, John Walker spy ring in D.C., where they sold the daily codes to the Russians. So they had the equipment to monitor the traffic, and then the codes how to break it. Wow. And they were able to monitor it. So in my case, the most dramatic example of that was we had a target, and the South Vietnamese Air Force, when they inserted, we would spiral into the LZ. So one day we're spiraling in November of 68, and my South Vietnamese counterpart, Sal or Phuc, our point man, yelled to the door gunner. They aborted. Somehow he had seen a wire across the LZ. So we're going into a top secret target. They had a wire there. It's attached to a 500-pound bomb. And we have other examples of that we could go into later. But so that was going on at the time.
What did you think then? Like, what was in your mind?
Well,
how did they know? Or what did you guys think? Or did you just focus on the next mission? Or did you have operations going to try to ferret out how they could have known you were going into that LZ?
Well, WTF times 2.
Yeah.
Because we knew and suspected that we were compromised. We never knew how bad.
Yeah.
We, the ground pounders, would tell command. They would pass it up to Saigon. And we always wanted better radio, better comms. and we just never got it. We're stuck with the Prick 25 for the longest time. And then when he finally gave us the radios upgrade with encrypted vocal, there's a book that's out now that might be a future interview for you. It's called SOG Codename Dynamite.
Oh, okay.
Dick Thompson. I knew him as Henry. We were together at FOB 1 in 68.
Okay.
But this is now, with the new encrypted radio, Dick was in a target, on the ground, and on the encryption, across his radio, came a funeral dirge. They played music to a funeral. He knew it was a funeral dirge because when he grew up as a kid, there were funerals, he heard the music. Then Hanoi Hannah, or one of her counterparts, came on. This is the encrypted secret frequency. Said, Dick Thompson, and we all knew him as Henry. So only two other people knew his name, nickname was Dick, which was his middle name. Eldon Bargewell and his cousin, who came to visit him at CCN.
No kidding.
So this is 69 or early 70.
Yeah.
The funeral dirge ended. She goes, you were on RT Michigan. You're Dick Thompson. You're the 10. Your 11 is here. Your team members today are bop, 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 bop. And we are going to annihilate you today. So we're playing the funeral music for you because your team is going to get wiped out. The CIA heard that transmission, reported to SOG that our team had been wiped out. And then Dick tells how he did not get wiped out.
Jeez. So
that's an example of the high degree of compromise that we never realized. Last but not least, after the war ended, a South Vietnamese who was in SOG headquarters, and he's in John Plaster's pictorial book at the end.
This one here, is this one or is it a different one?
It is. It would be that one, yes.
Yeah.
Near the end, I think, yes. And it's a picture of him with Speedy Gaspard, Major Speedy Gaspard, in Saigon. And this guy got the highest medal from North Vietnam for his years of being a spy in SOG headquarters.
Wow.
Right next to the high command. He was there all the time, walking up and down the halls. They highly trusted him. He was so good, they never realized it. So those are the different levels of compromise that you'll be reading about in my fourth book. If I ever get started, I keep reading about how you write. I'm going to try to get into my Jack Carr mode and get on a book for you.
Let's do it.